Sophia Media. Welcome to My First Year as a Mother, a podcast about life, motherhood, and that pivotal first year of becoming a mom. I'm Sophia.
And I'm Casey.
Each episode, we speak with a mother who shares her own experience about this transformative time. For this episode, we spoke with Katie Shepard, a writer and podcast producer based in Brooklyn, New York.
That's right. Katie grew up in North Carolina always thinking motherhood would be part of her future. But what she found, though, was that her expectations did not match with reality.
Katie has a wonderful way of describing her experiences as a new mom to her son Dean. I just loved hearing her speak so frankly and also honestly about the importance of her own independence and also some of the deepest insecurities she had as a new mom.
Just purely just barreling towards a midlife crisis, really. Yeah, but no, I did want to have a baby, but even still, when I saw the stick, I was got teary-eyed because I was thrilled, but also felt like I had a lump in my throat I couldn't swallow. Oh my God, everything's different now.
Welcome to My First Year as a Mother.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here. So I'm also a podcast producer and a new mom of a 14-month-old. So I'm very excited to get into this conversation with you.
Wow. Yeah, no, 14 months feels like a lifetime ago, but also sure. Just yesterday at the same time. So,
right.
You're probably just starting with the toddling.
She is walking. She is walking.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Cool.
But I feel like time really stretches and bends when you're a parent. It really changes your perspective on how fast or slow time goes.
For sure.
So speaking of being a mom, did you always want kids?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's kind of something that I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt was going to happen, even though I was always fearful it wouldn't. And I don't know if part of that is conditioning, everybody around me has kids, and especially where I'm from at a very young age has kids. But yeah, it was just oh, that's just what you do. Now you have kids.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got to my early 30s. I was wow. And then I revisited it again. Yeah.
Sure. Is that around the time, your early 30s, when you started thinking about getting pregnant?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how it was for you, but you start hearing the term geriatric pregnancy floated around. And you're
yes.
Oh my God, I feel like I was just at a club at 21 in a miniskirt, yesterday. And now all of a sudden they're telling me I'm going to have a geriatric pregnancy. And so then my own ageism crap comes in, right?
And how old were you?
When I got pregnant with my son, I was 36.
I can relate to that. And it's so funny because people are having kids so much older that I feel like they should change this term, geriatric pregnancy, elderly pregnancy. I have heard advanced maternal age, which I feel like is not any better.
What?
But yeah. I know, because I also got pregnant at 36. Did you have any issues getting pregnant?
No. In fact, I was oh, what if I just go off birth control? Just to see what happens. And then I decided to try it. It felt 5 seconds I was pregnant. I remember being I really don't feel good in a way that feels like I'm hungover, but I haven't had anything to drink. And then it was the very first pregnancy test I took. I was pregnant. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. So at that point, when you did decide to go off, you were planning on getting pregnant? That was the idea?
Yeah, I mean, I had the very mixed feelings, if I'm honest about it. Because, like I said, when I was younger, it was oh, I will become a mom. That is an inevitable. I remember doing a vision board, and it's some magazine version of me that's typing at a desk, but then there's children running around, and I have a huge bay window. This is my vision board for myself, right? It was I want to have a baby, especially because I'm scared that I'm in the geriatric bracket. But then I also am oh, I don't have a house. I live in an apartment. I don't have all this stuff that I was supposed to have by the time I became a mom. So the thing keeping me from it wasn't the idea of a child. It was the idea of everything else that was supposed to already be in place.
Totally. So when the doctor said that you had a geriatric pregnancy, what was your response to that?
I don't know. You could probably guess that I might have been like a little direct of like, do you think that we could talk about this in a more productive way? I think that was like an exact phrasing of it. Because I was really sick in early pregnancy. I mean, like lost a ton of weight, couldn't keep anything down, like very, very sick. And so then to hear that like some part of that might be because I'm old, I was like, I'm not like a NBA player who has to retire by 34, right? Like it's just so interesting. But then also out of respect, like for the real risks that can and do occur. I just wanted us to be able to stop talking about it like I was old. And then I just had to find the right doctor to be able to communicate in a style that worked for me. I did feel after that first visit with the first doctor, I was like, oh, no. Because my parents don't live here, right? So it's not like I can go out to my mom and have her show me all these things. So like I needed a doctor that I could talk to and communicate with that wasn't like lab coat looking down on me kind of thing.
Yeah.
I needed someone with a heartbeat, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Of course. Yeah, I'm so glad you made that switch too. It's so important to feel like you're in good hands, especially during pregnancy. Mm-hmm. What did you imagine your first year as a mom would be like?
That's a tough one. But if you want me to be really honest, I've always sort of been a overachiever, right? I'm like, oh, I have too much on my plate. And that's the way that I like it. I like being busy. I like doing too much. That keeps me feeling alive, you know, and a therapist might say otherwise, but I will say like, it does help me. And so I thought, oh, I'll go and I'll be like Susie Homemaker, an amazing mom, also have an amazing career. Maybe I'll even like, I've heard some moms get super creative in their first year of being a parent. So maybe I'll have this creative flow. I thought like, oh, like my child and I are going to be just Disney movie level of connection and beauty, you know. And I thought that I sort of treated it like a task to check off. Like this is a goal that I can achieve. Mm-hmm. And motherhood is nothing like that. Like motherhood is like a constant moving through and being like, fail, pivot, success, glean from that, learn from that. There is no end. You know? Right. Like there isn't even a 15-minute break, right? Like it's, yeah.
So let me just get the timeline straight, because you were mentioning about the vision board that you made. Was that during pregnancy or was that before pregnancy?
That was when I was in college.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I went to see like a tarot card reader, and they were like, you should really sort of think about what you want your life to look like envision a kind of future for yourself. And I had always wanted to sort of have this life that was like painter women or writerly women who sat at their desk while their children ran around and they had coffee, and that being like an equivalent of a cigarette to them, you know, and like exist in this world where my children were like free creatures while I was just there trying to like make art and do things. And it's not like that. It's not like that at all. Like I'm not like that as a human being, and children aren't like that. But I do think when I was making that vision board, I was trying to make like I want to have a selfhood in my own motherhood, you know, like I don't want to be totally, I want to prioritize and put my child first and exist, but I don't want to lose an essential core part of myself in a child. It was probably on some level what I was trying to say that I didn't know how to say yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And while you were pregnant, do you feel like at that point, if you were making another vision board, that it would have already looked different, or it was during pregnancy, it was still kind of similar to what you had in college?
I don't know why that makes me emotional, that question, because it's such a simple question, but I think it would be the exact same flipping dream board,
Yeah,
like vision board, because it's just what I wanted. Like I wanted to have an artistic life and be a good mom. Like that is what I wanted to have my whole life. And so even though 35, 36-year-old me would be much more cynical and rooted in reality and all that, like for a dream, I would have done the same one. Yeah.
You touched on this a bit about having sort of a difficult first trimester. How was the rest of your pregnancy?
So the first trimester was really rough. I even had to get an endoscopy like down my throat because I was getting so sick so much. And then we figured that out. And then the last trimester, I ended up sleeping with one of those pillows that goes all the way around you. And like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The
Did
body
you have
pillow off
one?
of Amazon. Yep.
Did you have one? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I had like a pillow fort because there was just, I'm sure you remember, there's no position you could ever be comfortable in at that point.
No.
No.
And it's like the summer in New York City. Get out of here. But I just remember being like to my husband, unless you're massaging my feet, I need this pillow. Like, right,
Don't touch my pillow.
Yeah. And I became truly one with it because every time I sat down, when people would be like, oh, let me fill your belly, the baby would never move. But then every time it was time for sleepy time, my son was like, it's party time. And we just, and he's still that way to this day, right? And so I began to realize like, oh, I'm going to lose a lot of sleep in this next period of my life, just in that trimester. And then giving birth was just as hard.
You're saying that your parents live in a different state. Are they still back home? So did you get a lot of practical advice from your mom after you got pregnant?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing about my mom is my mom and I've never been particularly close. Like I'm very similar in demeanor to my father. He's very gregarious and all that. But my mom, she's a critical care nurse. She worked third shift at the hospital. Her dad died when she was 20. So then she took care of her 3 younger siblings with her mom, like lived at home. Everything with my mom is like, she would make an amazing producer. But it's like, she's very like, did you get this done? And I remember having these feelings as a kid of like, why aren't you more playful? I even think my snotty 12-year-old self said that once. Like, why aren't you like so-and-so's mom? Like, you never play. And now I find my mom to be like truly like a lifeline in a way that I previously didn't fully realize. Like the laundry was always done. The dishes were always done. There was always dinner. There was always lunch. You know, I played 3 different sports. I never didn't have my gear. Like my mom had me get a job, not because we needed it financially, but to like teach me to go to work, you know, like all of these ways. So then when it came time to have a baby, I do think that was the closest that my mom and I have ever been. Because all of a sudden I was like, how did you do this? You know, how did you work as a critical care nurse, third shift with 2 small children, you know, and I'm alive, you know,
Totally.
Having her as a nurse was like on a practical level is great for some questions. But yeah, I definitely talk to my mom more now than I ever have since having my son, for sure.
That's really wonderful.
Yeah.
That is. I do want to hear about your birth story if you feel comfortable going there. So you were diagnosed with preeclampsia. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Basically, I was like working up to, I think I took off 5 days before my due date, you know, and I'm like the senior producer of a show and all this stuff. And I was going in to record voiceover tracking. But on the way in, I was stopped by the doctor because once you get headed into that last trimester, there's more frequent appointments.
Right.
And I go in and I was like, okay, you know, I haven't been feeling that great, but maybe I just haven't been sleeping well. And then the doctor was like, takes my blood pressure and she's like, you need to go home, take a shower, get a nice meal, pack a bag, and you need to go to the hospital like right after that because you're going to have a baby today. And I didn't have a baby that day. But
So they wanted to induce.
yes, they were like, you're going to go and we're going to induce your labor. But I get there and they start the induction. And I don't know what fully I was expecting. I certainly wasn't expecting like the Ritz-Carlton, but it was like people who you've never met, like all up in your business, and I have an anxiety disorder. And so my shoulders were very tense. I was very stressed out. Like I'm very big on consent. And so that was pretty stressful. But then they start to induce and I was like, I really want to have a vaginal birth. And they were like, you may have to have a C-section. This goes on for 3 days. They have monitors all over my belly, all this stuff. At this point, I'm in like full on labor pains and then my water breaks. But I was like, I really don't want to have a C-section. So I was like, can I get the epidural and we'll try to get to 6 centimeters.
Were you alone or did you have like your partner or any family with you at this time?
Yeah, my husband was there.
Okay.
And
did you have
parents,
a doula or anything?
Well, the hospital provides a doula and she came by once a day. And every day I would cry the moment she came into the room because she had this immediate soothing presence, and I used to do a lot of yoga. Like I did yoga all especially as an anxious person, it really helps me. And she just had this super calming energy of like, gave me lavender, would rub like acupuncture points. It's just very, like I remember at one point she asked if she could give like a compassionate touch, especially because you're having so much aggressive touch on you, to have someone touch you like with a level of connection involved. And then they asked if I wanted an epidural. I got the epidural and I was like, I promise the epidural didn't work. It turns out the epidural wasn't in my back at all. And it also happened to the person across the hall from me, the woman across the hall. So then I had like a good 6 hours of full like labor pains. And like this one nurse kept bringing me ice packs to put on my downstairs. And it was like, I promise I can feel this. And they were like, some people have different pain tolerances. And I was like, no, like I am a bear. No. And so then finally I get the epidural and then they were like, okay, you're at like 5.8. And if you don't make it to 6 within the next 2 hours, we have to give you a C-section. So this one nurse comes in and she like, I can't feel my whole bottom half of my body.
Gosh.
And she starts like flipping me around on an exercise ball, like bending my legs back and forth, like doing all these leg raises with me, doing anything to get me to dilate more. And it doesn't work.
So you were just 0.2 centimeters away.
Yeah.
Oh
like,
my goodness.
Yeah. And they were like, the doctor came in and she was like, we're going to have to do it because you're going to get a bacteria infection. And the baby is upside down now.
Oh, what was going through your head then?
I was so angry. Like it made me really.
You were angry.
Yeah.
At
life, like you watch all these movies and women show up and they're like carted in going, and then they push it out and there's a beautiful baby five, like cut, it's done,
Right.
And this had been like an exhausting, sleepless, like I felt like a failure the whole time, it was like, I can't even give birth to my kid right, but obviously I'm like, hormonal and sleep deprived in that moment, and like I would obviously never speak to another. I don't feel this way about any other woman. Like it's just funny what we do to ourselves, and they like treat you like it's NASCAR, like inject you with all this stuff. And my husband finally got to come in, and then all of a sudden, like I can't feel anything. I'm crying because I'm so sad, and then all of a sudden I see my son come up through the curtain and I hear him start to cry. And they go and they clean him and then he's still crying. And then they come and they put his face like right next to my face and he stops crying and my husband puts his face right on the other side. And it was like the first moment in days where I had felt any like peace. It was like this moment of like everything is going wrong, everything is failing. And then it was like no. Who knows why it had to go this way, but it did go this way. But we got there, you know, and yeah. So getting to see Dean, he was so little because he was a month early. He was like 4.5 pounds, but he was perfect. You know, he was just so perfect. It was so worth it to throw up for a whole 3 months, to sleep with like a weird Gumby figure wrapped around me, you know, like to go to be like, tell my boss, like, sorry, I can't go to work because I have to go to the hospital right now, to, you know, to just like, he was perfect.
I can't help but, think about what you said before about you being so ambitious and had all these grand plans for yourself and visions. And when you were talking about that, I was thinking, oh, I can really relate because I've always been searching for perfection too. And knowing that now I know that there's really like no such thing as perfection. But by the same token, if we're more present in life, then every moment could be perfection. It just struck me how after this, it's like 3 or 4 days of incredibly painful labor, for you to arrive at that moment where you got your fulfillment, you found your perfection in your boy. So yeah, that's really moving.
That's incredibly well said. Yeah.
Yeah, well put. What was it like holding your son for the first time?
I mean, truly, he was so little. Yeah. Like maybe from the tip of my fingers to a little below my wrist, like maybe like halfway down my forearm, like teeny, tiny. I was like, oh my God, you're so breakable. But I don't know if you experienced this, but for me, it really was this feeling of like, oh, this came from me. I've heard some mothers don't feel that way, but I really had this feeling of like, oh, you lived inside of me. Like I have felt you kicking. I have felt you punching me. That weird stretch that you do. I have felt that every day for a while now. I felt joy. I felt a lot of joy that he was okay and that everything had gone to a point that it seemed like it was going to work out. And then I also felt totally and completely like, oh my God, if everything is going to work out, then I'm going to have to like really get like pay attention. Like it's wake up. Like, it's time to plug in. You know?
Sure. What do you remember most when you first brought him home from the hospital?
Well, he slept in a bassinet next to our bed. And when he first came home, I remember thinking, we need a bigger apartment. Another human is here. Like, that's how I felt. Like, it's not like a friend that's coming over for the weekend. It's not like we're dog sitting. Like, another life and existence is in here now.
Was there a moment when you thought, this is not at all what I expected?
I understand now why so many people move close to home when they have a kid. Like, isn't there some really wild stat that, like, so many people have kids and then get closer to where their parents are or their relatives are? But we really had Dean 24/7. Like, and it was just us. Like, unless someone came up to visit, it was just us for those first months. And I don't think that I was prepared to have no personal space. Like, breastfeeding basic hygiene, cooking, and there was a lot of beauty with him like laying on me and just growing up and out and expanding. But yeah, it was like every time he cries, oh, that's got to be me or my husband. Every time he needs to feed, that's got to be me or my husband. Every time he needs a diaper, like everyone is us. And I don't know if it's the frequency of it or just the fatigue thing. Now it's like second nature.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, like, but at first you're like, this is a whole list of things that I don't normally do in a day. So I think that was what surprised me, is like how often you're like just going through lists in your head when you first have a baby. Like,
Yeah.
do you think this baby food will work when we get to that point? Do you think that I'm pumping right? Should I get the portable pump so I'm not sitting next to the thing the whole time, right? Like all these little ways in which my son became like the center of life.
Yeah.
I think I was surprised by.
How did you sort of orchestrate that with your husband, like divvying up the tasks?
So we would do a thing like rotating who got up each time. It was a little less frequent when I was breastfeeding, which I did till he was 4 months. But then we would try, even now, if he wakes up, we try to be like, it's your turn. You know, like, and then the other person just does not move, you know, like I can't hear him, you know, like,
Yeah.
But then like the other thing is like I went back to work and my husband watched Dean because he was taking a class, working in a class at the time. And that was the whole thing to where, again, I was like, wow. Like all these things that I wanted. Like I wanted to be a working mom. I wanted to be this progressive woman. I was like, I don't mind being the breadwinner. And I don't want to do, I'm sorry, kid stuff all day long. I don't want to sing Wheels on the Bus 10 million times a day. Sorry, I don't. But like there was still this part of me is like, wait, am I a bad mom because I'm the one that went back to work and then my husband's doing the day cycle for these days of the week? So that was like I would say the main responsibility shift and even stressor, I would say. And that's when I was like, oh, I understand my mom now. right? Like, oh, I'm sure my mom would have loved to stay home and baked cakes and like hung out and fold the laundry and do all that stuff. But instead she was like, oh no, I have to go make money and work and have health insurance. And having that allowed me to be like forgiving of myself. And then like also at the same time, like have some empathy for my husband who is like in the slog of a little baby, like all the time, and being like, how can I help you? How can I support you? Like I know I've been at work for 8 hours, but like how, just figuring out how our relationship worked took a little bit of time.
Sure. Thank you for sharing that. I just want to say I'm also like that. I have felt very guilty that I don't want to sit on the floor with my daughter for hours. I actually get really nervous when I have a lot of free time with her. We go on a lot of walks and go to a lot of playgrounds and a lot of libraries because I can't do it. I can play for like 20 minutes and then I'm like, we got to leave the house. We got to get up. We got to go do something because I can't. And my husband is like, he would play with her 4 hours.
Yeah.
So
pretend is not my thing. Like,
yeah.
And it's so funny karmically because I remember one time when I was a kid, my mom was like, do you want to make paper towel dresses for your Barbies? And we'll color them and we'll make them. And she was like, it would be a fun little craft, you know, and we can use construction paper and stuff. I was like, cool. Like we played like that. Like it's a distinct moment of my mom sitting down and playing with me. And now I'm like, we have blown bubbles for so long, you know? And then there is still every time in the bubble session, one bubble that he pops or one joy and beauty that he like presents and admires that it was like, it keeps me there. Like, even though there's another level that's like very over it for sure.
I was just wondering because, Katie, you were saying before about how you always wanted to preserve the sense of self even in motherhood, it was very important to you to still have a sense of self. So I'm curious, looking back to the first year of having Dean, how did your sense of self sort of change during that first year?
At first I was trying to get back to like who I was, like as if this giant life event had not occurred, as if this other human being wasn't present. And I did have postpartum depression. But
Was that during the first year?
yeah,
Oh, wow. Okay.
but I will say that in time, and maybe this wasn't until the end of the first year that I realized like what I had been fighting was like an expansion of myself. Like motherhood has allowed me to have all of these new elements of myself, which is caring for who a person wants to become, how they behave in the world. I feel politically rejuvenated. I feel community minded more. I actually feel my son has done an incredible job of showing me that one of the best ways that you can keep a sense of self is by being aware of others, right? It's like, how is my son interacting with these other people? How are we with our neighbors? How is this, and this? It's just expanded the self, I think, in a way I wasn't expecting. It also has made being aware, like, what kind of role model am I? What kind of person am I? What kind of example am I? Like, am I teaching my kid the joy of cooking? Am I going to teach but when they're little, it's like, am I just teaching this child how to say please? Like, am I just teaching this kid to feel empathy and bad when they swat or pull hair or throw something? It's like you get really back into like the little parts of what make us who we are.
Yeah. You mentioned that you had postpartum. Would you be comfortable opening up about that? Were you diagnosed? And
Yeah.
what was that experience like?
Yeah, I can't recommend therapy enough for all the people of the world. But I will say, like, I've always had like anxiety and depression, but then my feeling was constantly like a hyper fixation that I was going to screw up my kid. Like he might die in his sleep. I might have fed him the wrong thing. I was just like constantly afraid that he was going to die. And so I think that's really where the root of it was. And that's when I was diagnosed.
Did these feelings happen right away, like as soon as you brought him home? Or did it happen after a few weeks or a few months?
I would say after about 2 weeks.
Okay.
Because when he first came home, I just had a C-section. And I really didn't do much other than like go to the bathroom and eat and breastfeed. I was like sore. And then I just remember having this feeling once, like being so tired and so sleep deprived of just like, I have to keep myself awake or my husband's going to have to do it. But then like, what if he rolls over and I haven't been paying attention at night? Like, what if somehow he gets out of the swaddle and, I was just like heightened. It was like my anxiety, like heightened up to where it became depressive. And it was very helpful to talk to a therapist and take medication. Like it was. I'm not going to say otherwise, of just like, to realize they're having like all these intrusive thoughts of like, what if I didn't put the car seat in right and, we're going the wrong way? Or what if all of a sudden we're like in a stroller, but we're too close to the curb, And everything was about like, what if something happens to Dean is really what was happening for me.
Yeah. And how did that depression manifest itself?
The biggest ways it would come up is just like, okay, now it's time for me to go to sleep and I can't do it. Like, I'm so tired. And I'm like, oh, I didn't clean that bottle right. Like, what if there's bacteria in that bottle? And
Oh, I see.
like, I didn't sterilize it right. Like,
Right.
What if when we try to do the little inflatable bath, like he slips or something, or like rolls off, like when I'm trying to change him on the changing table, like the voice in my head saying, don't screw it up, was like in F1, way too fast for anything to be pleasurable, for anything to be, nothing felt joyful for about a month. And I was like, I got to talk to my therapist. Like everything feels intense and stressful. And I was like, I don't think this is how everybody feels.
I'm glad you reached out and found the help that you needed during that time, because I feel like it's not everyone has that, but it can be hard during those first few weeks and months to ask for help, you know, because you're just trying to keep someone alive. So you're like, where do I find the time to have someone take care of me, you know?
Yeah, or even to be aware that that you need to ask for help, right?
For sure. I think the most incredible thing was there was like a hospital resource they gave us that was you could get on a Zoom with some woman who would teach you how to breastfeed, actually. And you wouldn't show her anything, but she would like talk you through like how much milk did he take here? How frequently is he taking it? How much are you producing? Like all this. And whoever that woman was, like she was so nice to me and so kind to me and so patient with me as I'm like freaking out about ounces and this. And she was like, you may want to consider like talking to somebody about these feelings, you know, because some of it's stressful, but you are doing a great job. Like you're doing a good job. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm doing a terrible job. Like that's when I started to turn a corner. Was when I was like freaking out on a Zoom, like so close to the camera, like, can you see? Like, what if he doesn't get up to here? You know, like that. Yeah.
I'd love to talk about some of the highlights and the joys of the first year. What were some of the unexpected joys that you experienced in that first year with Dean?
Sure. I will say maybe the most unexpected was how much, as not a morning person, like truly my son, my husband would get up and do things and I would be like, I'm reading a book in bed, sipping my coffee, don't speak to me. The most unexpected joy would be sitting like in the rocker. The sun hasn't even come up yet. Like it's like about to come up. And then I'm just like starting the day before anybody in New York City is moving, you know?
I love
like
that.
one
That
too?
is the best. Oh, that is still my joy every single day when I'm up before everyone else.
But were you a morning person before?
I was. Yeah.
Oh, cheater.
Yeah.
Cheater.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is such a amazing thing though, right? Like
yes.
the stillness that you don't get the rest of the day.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then maybe my most fun memory with Dean, I mean, there's so many. Like, that's a hard one. Like, every time they start to do something for the first time, whether it's like really look at you or say mom for the first time or drink out of a sippy cup for the first time or want to stick their hand out of the stroller for you to hold their hand. Like, there's all these little moments where you're like, oh, it's working. Like motherhood is working, you know, instead of just feeling like you're giving and giving and giving and giving. And then they're so wonderful how now he's of an age where he runs to you and hugs you like giant.
Oh, that's the best. How old is he now?
21 months.
Okay. I'm trying to track when I can expect that.
Yeah. 21 months, literally running around the house yesterday going, and because up until that point, you're like, do you even like me? You know?
Yeah, it's really nice to get that physical validation. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious, in those first few months, is there like a sound or some sort of noise or song or something that would kind of define those first few months that kind of stands out for you?
For sure. I mean, we made up this silly song that
we want to hear it.
No, it's so good though. No, it's really like truly like I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna be like a huge mama's boy in college, and I'm gonna have to like go and like but it's like who's a little baby boy? Dean's a little baby boy. Who's the little baby boy? Dean's a little baby boy. And you would sing it over and over and over again. And after about 10 minutes, he'd just pass out.
Oh, yeah.
But like Tired Me was like, what are the worst lyrics I could come up with in this? And then white noise. That's another thing too. Before I met my husband, I never slept with any sound. And then my husband likes to have the TV on low at night. And then every night he falls asleep, I turn it off. But now there's just always white noise, you know?
Our house too. Yep.
Yeah.
Constant in her bedroom. And I use it at night too, because it also kind of dulls some of the noises she makes because they're just noisy. Babies are noisy. So I am white noise everywhere.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I don't know what that means, but my previous temperament could have never been able to stand like a dull sound. And now I'm like, please block it out. I actually worked on like a whole episode about how white noise became a thing because I was using white noise so much.
I did want to hear a little bit more about your relationship with your husband. It's so helpful to have a partner who takes on a lot of the responsibilities for caring for your son, especially when you wanted to get back to work whenever there's an opportunity. So just very curious to hear more about how your relationship has evolved since Dean was born.
Yeah, I would say no relationship has been more impacted by having a kid than my relationship to my spouse, right? Mm-hmm. We're both dreamers. He's like an artistic person. I'm an artistic person. We're like, oh, just jump and figure it out on the way down kind of people. And that makes it amazing for falling in love, right? Mm-hmm. And that makes it amazing for being in love. And that also makes it amazing when you are like, who's going to get the grocery? Like when you're in the nitty gritty to have some of that there. But I will say, like, I don't think I fully realized like how much we used to do. Like we would go on trips together. We would go hiking together. We would go to the movies together. We went to concerts together all the time. Like we were like, how do we get out of the house? Like, let's go be in the world. Let's go try this restaurant. Let's go try this art exhibit. Let's go. And a baby is not having any of that. You know, right? Like when they're a blob, they can do it with you maybe for an hour or two, right? But a baby wants to be home for naps and things. And then it was in that moment where two people who love to be free, like really had to be like, okay, you do this, then you do this. I think that was the most challenging, remains the most challenging part. And they also say like your relationship strains when you have younger children. That's like a fact. But I will say that why I love my husband is because he is not afraid to let me be myself. Like it does not emasculate him to stay home with our son. I find that very attractive.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most masculine qualities that a man could have.
Totally.
Yeah.
And like what was incredible was I think he went through like his own kind of like postpartum period of like, whoa, there's a kid here all the time now and I can't really talk to it and I can't really interact with it. I'm trying to get some signs from it, like, you know, and then it's like day in and day out of like, is it working? Like I have a lot of love for that. And then also I have a very significant memory when I was giving birth and they were about to put the epidural on my back for the second time. And just tears like running down my face because I was so tired and in so much pain. And he put his forehead on my forehead. And it was like, oh, like, this is my husband. You know, like, we're going to have a baby together. And, we, you know, we fail each other in ways. But in the most important way, and having a child, like, reveals that, you know. Having a child is not a way to cover up friction. But I will say that the love and the beauty and the joy of being with my husband since we've had a child comes from the fact that it's like we are the only two people who have experienced this. Again, it's the same thing, like billions of babies are born and all this, but we are the two parents of Dean. Like, and we were there when he was making me sick. We were there when we were worried he wasn't going to be born okay, and we had to get him out immediately. And we were there when he pooped on the wall. We were we were there, and that keeps you there when you're like, well, why didn't you do the dishes today? When you're like in the like, who's pulling what weight here, you know? Of just like when you zoom out, you're like, this is the person who has shared this child with me, and I feel incredibly lucky for that. Yeah.
I want to ask a little bit about your work. How was that transition for you going back to work?
Literally the day I showed up, they gave me an assignment. Like, it was no like.
And were you like, give it to me, or were you like, no, this is work? Oh.
It wasn't like give it to me, because I did get to a point where I was like, oh, I can't wait to go and like have a adult conversation. I don't wear clothes that are not covered in baby food, and like be like on a quest to find a good story and be pitching and doing all this stuff. But the most radical thing for me about going back to work is that it felt like work was still work, like it was its engine, but so much had happened to me, and we were never gonna get into any of it. You know what I mean? Because it's like boundaries and all that stuff. And it's not what they're paying you to do. That was the weirdest thing, was that I went back to work and I knew I couldn't be a workhorse, you know? I knew that I had other things to do now. Because I was so used to like 5 a.m. getting up, oh, I'll finish this thing, you know, or, maybe I'll work really late tonight, or, it's just, what's 1 hour on this Sunday that I go cut this thing, you know? And then all of a sudden it was like, no, I have to have hard boundaries. Yeah. So I would say going back to work was a double-edged sword. But then I don't know about you, but I had a lot of brain fog too. Like, I remember like misspelling things quite a few times when I first went back, because I just hadn't sat at a laptop very much in 4 months and like been a person like that. It was like I just existed in babyland. So yeah, that was sort of the thing. And then maybe about a week or two of that, then I was like, oh, I'm at work. But I would say like that.
Your stride, yeah.
Well, I was like, I found like the work came, like the assignment came. But I would say that first week back, I wanted to be like unmute and be like, you'll never get it. You know, and then just mute back. Right?
Yeah. So Katie, just to wrap this up, one last question. If you think back to your first year, and if there's a moment where you could just talk to Dean, where he could actually hear and understand you, what would you want to say to him?
I guess I would probably say something like, I have no idea how you get to do this life with us. You know, like how of all the places in all the world, you know, but in all sincerity, like, I want you to be safe. I want you to be loved. I want you to be happy. And I want you to know that part of the whole thing about parenthood is that I'm probably going to get it wrong. Your dad and I are probably going to get stuff wrong. I mean, we will. But we love you. And we hope that you always know that. And I just don't want you to ever, you're going to feel loneliness, but I don't want you to ever feel alone.
My First Year as a Mother is an original Sophia Media production created by Sophia. This episode was produced by senior producer Samira Tazari, with creative direction by Shireen Anderson, and co-hosted by Sophia and me, Casey Georgie. Thanks for listening. Check out our website at sophiamedia.co/myfirstyear for more episodes and other shows in My First Year series, and for social links where you can join our online community.